El hecho de que se esté criminalizando la inmigración en los Estados Unidos facilita un flujo constante de mano de obra barata hacia esas prisiones.
It is a country where human rights violations are really very, very intense.
While the U.S. likes to claim itself as a defender of human rights, forced labor, a legacy of slavery, is still deeply rooted in the contemporary U.S. society. Now, minority groups, immigrant workers, and even children are suffering the inhumane treatment, including long working hours, little or no pay, and various abuses, including confinement and sexual harassment. According to the University of Denver website, it's been estimated that currently at least 500,000 people are living under modern slavery and forced labor conditions in the U.S. Forced labor and violations of human rights are seen in the U.S. burgeoning private prison business. The U.S. has the world's largest private prison population. Since 2000, the number of people housed in private jails has increased by 32% compared to an overall rise in the prison population of 3%. In these prisons, many have been suffering from forced labor without any legal protection.
Mucha de esa gente cae en una especie de limbo legal porque están presos sin haber sido sometidos a juicio, sin que lo ampare ninguna ley, y por lo tanto pueden estar cumpliendo prisión por el tiempo que estima conveniente el gobierno del estado o el gobierno federal.
I was able to see, what prison labor really looked like from the inside out, and the impacts of prison labor on bodies, whether those bodies are 20 years old or 50 years old or older. Every able-bodied individual who is incarcerated within the state of California must work. Wages are extremely low. They're insulting.
The privatization of the U.S. prison system is definitely one of the things that is leading to the commercialization.
В 2011 году в США судья Марк Киварелло, он был в Пенсильвании и был приговорен к 28 годам заключения за то, что он незаконно приговорил тысячи подростков, то есть несовершеннолетних юношей и девушек к тюремному заключению. А почему он это делал? Он делал за то, что ему предлагали взятки от бизнесменов, которые строили и управляли тюрьмами для несовершеннолетних. Соответственно, конечно же, злоупотребления в тюремной системе и связанные с принудительным трудом, они имеют очень большое распространение, в том числе и в США.
Not only in prison, children who are not incarcerated may also fall victim to forced labor in the U.S. Statistics from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and other institutions show that half of the 100,000 people trafficked into the U.S. each year for forced labor are minors. To date, the U.S. remains the only one of the UN's 193 member states that has not ratified the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child.
If you look at the United States, they are the number one violator actually of UN mechanisms. They criticize other countries about forced labor or children's forced labor, but they are not even signatory to the United Convention on the Rights of the Child.
And according to the Richmond Times-Dispatch, 240,000 to 325,000 women and children are at risk for sexual exploitation each year in the U.S. Among those subject to forced labor in the U.S., many are migrants. Observers say migrant forced labor occurs as a result of misguided policies and socio-cultural patterns of discrimination, racism, and xenophobia in the U.S.
It hurts me so much to see how people are being mistreated and with no rights. They are underpaid, they are mistreated. Some of them get engaged in forced sexual workers. Many of the people live in a slave-like life.
In the U.S., we know that there is racial discrimination. And if you're not white, then you have no identity that is worth protecting. And they feel that if you're in the US and you came as a migrant, then definitely you are desperate and you can be misused in any way.
According to international organizations monitoring human rights, forced labor is pervasive in more than 20 US industries, including domestic service, agriculture, and medical care. However, to date, the US has appeared less willing to assume its due responsibility to eliminate forced labor within its borders.
The United States of America is not a democratic country. It is a country where human rights violations are really very intense.
That's the hypocrisy of the United States. That's the problem with the USA. The arrogance, the exceptionalism is still there. The people of the world is already aware of many discrepancies and the hypocrisy of the US.